Welcome, deep divers. Take a moment and just look around the space you're in right now. The colors, the layout, the furniture, it all feels so, well, natural, doesn't it? But what if I told you that behind every thoughtfully arranged interior, there's actually a rigorous legal framework, a precise blueprint ensuring competence and professionalism? It's not just about, aesthetics, it's about safety, function, and surprisingly, even nation building. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Republic Act number 10350, better known as the Philippine Interior Design Act of 2012.
That's absolutely right. This isn't just about making spaces look visually appealing. It's a foundational legal document. It shapes an entire industry. Our mission today is really to unpack the most important insights from this significant legal act. We want to clarify its immense impact on aspiring and practicing interior designers, on clients, and yeah, indeed, on the entire national landscape. We're going to explore how a country ensures its built environments are not only beautiful, but also safe and professionally crafted.
And when we talk about our source material, we're going straight to the heart of it, the actual legal text. We've got an excerpt from Republic Act number 1A350.pdf, a document that, while approved back in December 2012, is still the detailed blueprint for this profession. It really highlights just how seriously the practice of interior design is taken in the Philippines. So let's kick off with what might seem like a fundamental question. Why does interior design even need a law? For many, it's an art, right? A creative endeavor. Why is the state getting involved in something like this?
Well, what's genuinely striking right at the start in Section 2 is the Act's statement of policy. It explicitly states that the state recognizes the important role of the interior design profession in nation building. Think about that. Interior design is a pillar of national development. It's quite profound. And to achieve this, the state commits to fostering the sustained development of professional interior designers.
Okay, sustained development. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it's not just a vague aspiration. It means ensuring their technical competencies through honest and credible licensure examinations and aiming for standards that are internationally recognized and globally competitive.
Mm.
All of this is underpinned by clear regulatory measures and human resource programs. It's really about establishing a highly skilled, reliable, and trustworthy professional foundation.
Right. So if you're a client, this means you're hiring a professional whose skills and ethics are, well, literally verified by the state, someone you can genuinely trust with your space. And if you're an aspiring designer, it doesn't just offer a vague career goal, it lays out a clear, structured path for your professional journey. Section 3 outlines the direct objectives of this act. It essentially covers everything, doesn't it?
It really does. From the rigorous process of examination, registration, and licensure to the ongoing supervision, control, and regulation of the practice. It also ensures the development of professional competence through continuing professional education, or CPE, as it's often called. And finally, the complete integration of the interior design profession into a cohesive, recognized field.
Okay, so let's get down to basics. To truly grasp the scope, we need clear definitions, right? How does the Act define interior design itself?
Yes, Section 4 is crucial here. Interior design is laid out as the science and art of planning, specifying, selecting, and organizing the surface finishes and materials, including furniture, furnishings and fixtures, and other interior design elements for the purpose of the interior space allocations to suit, enhance, and meet the intended function, movement, and character for which the interior of the building is designed. It's quite a mouthful, but it emphasizes both the science and the art.
Science and art. And what about the person doing this work, the professional interior designer?
Very clearly defined. A natural person who holds a valid certificate of registration and a valid professional identification card issued by the board and the commission pursuant to this act.
Hmm.
And just for clarity, is the Professional Regulation Commission, or PRC.
Got it. So, with those definitions in mind, what exactly does an interior designer do under the watchful eye of this law? Is it like just picking paint colors and furniture, or is it something far more comprehensive?
Oh, it's far more comprehensive.
Yeah.
Section 5, which covers the scope of the professional practice of interior design, makes that incredibly clear. This isn't just about making things look good. It's defined as the act of planning, designing, specifying, supervising, and providing general administration and responsible direction to the functional, orderly, and aesthetic arrangement and enhancement of interior spaces.
Okay, that sounds broad. Can you give us some examples?
Sure. It covers a surprisingly wide range of tasks. Think initial schematic interior design development and detailed design development. It goes all the way through execution of professional contract documents and programming of construction phases. It even includes the very practical elements, like preparation of interior design plans, design drawings, interior construction details, and technical specifications.
So beyond the drawing board, too.
Absolutely. It extends to interior construction administration, supervision, coordination of alteration, preservation, or restoration of interior spaces.
Hmm.
And here's where it gets really interesting. It also covers all other works, projects, and activities that require the professional competence of the interior designer, including teaching of interior design subjects.
Wow, teaching too. So it's a truly holistic definition, covering everything from initial concept to overseeing the actual building work and even shaping the next generation. But what's particularly insightful about this comprehensive scope is it's set in stone.
Ah, that's a key point. The law anticipates the evolving nature of the profession. Section 5 explicitly grants the board the power to revise, exclude from, or add to these enumerated acts. This means the scope can be adapted to conform to latest trends and developments in the practice of interior design.
That's smart. It acknowledges the field isn't static.
Exactly. It allows the legal framework to remain relevant as design practices innovate and, technology advances.
That's really forward-thinking. So with such a broad and evolving scope, who exactly is making sure all these professional standards are met? Who regulates this vital work?
Right. That brings us neatly to Article 2, the Professional Regulatory Board of Interior Design. Section 6 details its creation and composition. It's a dedicated board operating under the administrative control of the PRC, and it's composed of a chairman and 2 members.
And how are these members chosen?
They're appointed by the President of the Philippines. But not just anyone. They come from a list provided by the PRC, which in turn gets nominees recommended by the duly accredited and integrated professional organization, AIPO, of interior designers. Okay, so there's professional input right from the nomination stage. The act even mandated that this new board shall be created within 6 months from the effectivity of this act. So, quite promptly.
And these aren't just any appointees, are they? You mentioned qualifications. What kind of professional background and experience are we talking about?
Absolutely, not just anyone. Section 7 lays out very stringent qualifications of the chairman and members.
Yeah.
They must be citizens and residents of the Philippines, naturally, and hold a specific interior design degree, a Bachelor of Science in Interior Design, BSID, Bachelor of Interior Design, BID, or Bachelor of Fine Arts, BFA, Major in Interior Design, or an equivalent from a recognized school.
Okay, education is covered. What about practical experience?
That's crucial. They must be a registered interior designer with a valid certificate of registration and a professional identification card, and an active practitioner of interior design for not less than 10 years prior to appointment. A decade of practice.
10 years. That's significant. Are there any exclusions? Things that would prevent someone from serving?
Yes, several important ones. They must not be faculty of an interior design school. They can't have a pecuniary interest, basically a financial stake in any school or review center for the licensure examination. That avoids conflicts of interest. They also have to be a member in good standing of the AIPO, but not an incumbent trustee or officer thereof, again, preventing an overlap of power. And, very significantly, they must have never been convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude or a civil and/or criminal offense. This speaks volumes about the expected ethical standing.
That's a very clear commitment to integrity and experience. How long do these board members serve? Is it a long-term appointment?
Section 8 covers the term of office. They serve for 3 years from appointment. They can be reappointed for 1 additional 3-year term. But, crucially, no member shall hold office for more than 6 years. The initial terms were also staggered, 3 years for the chair, 2 for one member, 1 for the other, which helps maintain continuity.
A 6-year maximum ensures fresh perspectives eventually. Okay, so with such qualified individuals on the board, what specific powers and responsibilities do they actually wield? Where does their authority truly lie in shaping the profession? This is where it gets really interesting, right?
Yes, this is where the board's influence really comes into play. Section 10, specific powers, functions, duties, and responsibilities, is extensive. They have broad authority to adopt, promulgate, and administer the rules and regulations needed to implement the Act. They supervise and regulate the registration, licensure, and practice of professional interior designers. Essentially, they're the guardians of the profession.
Gatekeepers, in a way.
Exactly. They can issue, suspend, revoke, or reinstate the certificate of registration or professional license. Their role in education is also critical. They ensure, in coordination with the Commission on Higher Education, CHED, that all other educational institutions offering interior design comply with the policies, standards, and requirements. They also prescribe and adopt a code of ethics and or a code of professional standards, setting the moral compass.
So they set the rules, enforce them, oversee education, and define ethical conduct. Anything else?
Oh yes, they possess a quasi-judicial power. They can hear and try administrative cases involving violations of this act. It's implementing rules and regulations, IRR, the Code of Professional Standards. And for this purpose, they can even issue subpoena and subpoena duces tecum, compel testimony or documents. Plus, they're directly tied to the exams. They prepare, adopt, and issue the table of specifications, TOS, and syllabi, determine and prepare the questions, strictly within the scope of those syllabi.
That's an enormous amount of power, from setting standards to enforcing them, even acting like a court in some ways. But what happens if a board member themselves doesn't uphold these high standards? Is there an accountability mechanism for them?
That's a vital question, and yes, there is. Section 11 outlines the grounds for removal or suspension of board chairman member. The president can remove or suspend them, but only upon PRC recommendation and for serious offenses. These include things like gross neglect, incompetence or dishonesty, manipulation or rigging of the licensure examination, which is obviously critical, or conviction of an offense involving moral turpitude, essentially, an act showing serious moral failing. This really underscores the gravity of their role and the accountability built right into the system.
Okay, so you've got this robust board designed to uphold standards and ensure integrity. Now, for many of our listeners, I imagine the big question is, how does one actually become a licensed interior designer in the Philippines? What's that journey to licensure look like? This brings us to Article 3, examination, registration, certification, and licensure.
Right. The first hurdle, generally, is the exam. Section 14 confirms that passing the professional licensure examination is required. And then Section 15 details the qualifications of applicants who can even sit for the exam. Firstly, you need to be a citizen of the Philippines or a foreign citizen whose country state has a policy reciprocity with the Philippines. You must be of good moral character. That's a recurring theme.
Reciprocity, so it depends on whether their country lets Filipinos practice there, too.
Precisely. It's a two-way street. You also need to hold an interior design degree from a reputable institution in the Philippines, one recognized by CHED. Or if you studied abroad, your degree needs to be certified by the CHED as equivalent. And again, critically, you must not have been convicted of an offense involving moral turpitude.
Okay, assuming you meet those qualifications, what about the exam itself? What kind of knowledge does it test? Is it purely creative or more technical?
It's definitely a comprehensive exam, as laid out in Section 16. It's designed to cover both the artistic and the highly technical sides of the profession. You've got core interior design principles, naturally, but also specialized knowledge in furniture design and construction, materials of design and decoration, history of arts, and interior design. Quite broad. You're also tested on the practical stuff, interior construction and utilities, color theory, and, crucially, professional practice and ethics. It really pushes for a well-rounded professional.
Sounds demanding. Does the exam content ever change?
Yes, the Act allows for that. Subjects and syllabi can be amended by the board in coordination with CHED and the AIPO of Interior Design Educators. This is specifically to conform to technological changes, keeping the exam relevant over time.
Makes sense. And what's the passing mark? How well do you need to do?
Section 17 sets the bar. A candidate must attain a weighted general average of 70%. 70%. Okay. And once you pass, what's next? You get your official stamp, right? What are those credentials that officially recognize you as a professional? Exactly. Section 20 covers the issuance of Certificate of Registration and Professional Identification Card. The Certificate of Registration is the formal document. It bears official signatures from the PRC chairperson and board members, the official seal. It indicates your legal entitlement to practice. Then there's the Professional Identification Card, released by the PRC. It's your handy proof of legal practice. You get that upon compliance with requirements, including showing your AIPO dues receipt and meeting continuing professional education, CPE requirements.
CPE, so learning doesn't stop after the exam.
Not at all. It's ongoing. And here's a crucial detail for practitioners. Once registered, the interior designer may use iDoctor as his official appendage title. It's like Doctor or Eng, a mark of their professional status.
Dr. Ease, that's a clear symbol of recognition. But let's talk about potential issues. What if someone passes the exam or gets registered, but then things go wrong? Can that registration be refused or, worse, revoked?
Yes, absolutely. The Act addresses scenarios where registration might not happen, even after passing, or where it might be taken away later. Section 21 outlines refusal to register. The board won't register an applicant if they've been convicted of moral turpitude, found guilty of immoral or dishonorable conduct, violated exam instructions, or been declared of unsound mind.
So, character and conduct are paramount even after passing. What about revocation after you're already registered?
That's covered in Section 22, revocation or suspension of the certificate of registration. It lists a range of serious grounds: violating the Act itself, or its implementing rules and regulations, IRR, or the Code of Ethics Professional Standards. Using fraud or deceit to get your credentials in the first place. Gross incompetence, negligence, or ignorance resulting to death, injury, or damage. This is a big one, highlighting the responsibility for safety. Refusing to join or remain a member in good standing of the AIPO is also grounds.
Refusing to join the professional organization, that's quite strict.
It emphasizes the integration aspect. Also, simply failing to pay the annual registration fees for 5 consecutive years can lead to suspension. Other grounds include aiding illegal practice, practicing while under suspension, drug or alcohol abuse that impairs your ability to practice, or being declared of unsound mind. And linking back to CPE, non-compliance with those requirements for renewal is another ground, unless you're specifically exempted.
That's an incredibly comprehensive list covering professional conduct, competence, financial responsibility, and even personal well-being if it affects practice. And how does a case like this even start? Who initiates it?
Well, the Act states that any person, firm, or association may file charges against a registered interior designer. Or importantly, the board may motu proprio investigate violation. That means the board can start an investigation on its own initiative, even without a formal complaint being filed.
So they can be proactive. Okay, if a certificate is revoked, is that permanent, or is there a way back?
There can be a way back. Section 23, reissuance of revoked certificate, explains that a revoked certificate can potentially be reinstated after 2 years. The person needs to petition for it and show good reason. Often, no reexamination is required if the original grounds for revocation no longer exist. And similarly, Section 24 deals with non-payment of annual registration fees. Non-payment for 5 consecutive years leads to suspension, yes, but practice can resume upon payment of all the back fees, plus any surcharges and interest. So there are pathways back to good standing.
That seems fair. What about all the professionals who were already practicing interior design when this law came into effect back in 2012? What did it mean for them? Did they suddenly have to jump through all these hoops?
No. Thankfully, the law accounted for them. Section 25 covers vested rights. It clarified that all practicing interior designers who were already duly registered under the previous system at the time the Act passed were automatically registered under the new Act. They were issued new certificates, subject to the existing rules at the time, provided a smooth transition for established professionals.
That makes sense, respecting existing professionals. Okay, so you've navigated the process. You're a registered eye doctor. What does that actually mean for how you operate in the professional world? Who is lawfully allowed to practice and under what conditions? This takes us into Article 4, Practice of Interior Design.
Right. So who exactly is legally allowed to practice interior design in the Philippines? Section 26 is very clear on this. Firstly, natural persons as individuals. They need that valid certificate of registration and professional ID card. Or, if they're a foreign ID, they need a valid temporary or special permit, which we can discuss more. But it's not just individuals. It's also about firms and companies, juridical persons.
How does that work for companies?
The law is very specific to ensure professional accountability. For a single proprietorship, the owner must be a registered eye doctor or doctor. For a general professional partnership, all partners must be registered ID cards, no exceptions. And for a corporation, the chief executive officer, CEO, and other key officers involved in the practice must all be registered ID cards. This structure really ensures that licensed professionals are in charge at every level.
That's a powerful way to ensure professional oversight throughout the business structure. And how does a designer officially stamp their work, showing it meets these standards and they take responsibility?
This is where the rubber meets the road, as you said earlier, the official seal. Section 27 discusses the issuance and use of seal. A registered eye doctor must sign and affix the seal as approved and provided by the board on all plans, specifications, and contract documents prepared by him and/or under his or direct supervision. This isn't just a formality. It's a mark of professional responsibility, a legal attestation. And the Act stresses the consequence. Violation of the foregoing shall be ground for administrative and/or criminal action. That seal carries significant weight.
It's their professional guarantee, essentially. Now, you mentioned something earlier about concepts and designs. How does the law protect the creative output of interior designers?
Yes, this is a really fascinating and important part of the Act, often overlooked in creative fields. Section 28 covers proprietary rights. It explicitly acknowledges that the ideas themselves are valuable. It states that interior designers enjoy proprietary rights over all drawings and specifications and other contract documents, as instruments of service, as well as over the original concepts and designs. This gives designers a strong legal shield. No one can reproduce, alter, distort, mutilate, or take derogatory action against their work without their written consent.
That's strong protection for their intellectual property. Are there any exceptions?
Yes, there's a crucial one. If it's a commissioned piece of work duly paid for, the client does have the right to alter, revise, or modify it. It strikes a balance between protecting the designer's original creation and the client's rights for work they've paid for.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about international collaboration? What if an international designer with a unique vision wants to work on a project in the Philippines? Does the law simply shut the door?
Not at all, but it sets very clear parameters to ensure fairness and benefit to the Philippines. First, Section 29 covers foreign reciprocity. As we touched on earlier, no foreign ID gets a certificate unless their home country grants similar privileges to Filipino IDs. Then, Section 30 dives deeper into practice through temporary special permit, specifically for foreigners.
What are the conditions for getting one of those permits?
There are a couple of key conditions. They must be legally and professionally qualified in their own country, obviously. And D, importantly, his or her expertise is unique and useful to the Philippines, resulting in the transfer of information and technology, the establishment of international standards in design, and the sharing of other specialized skills. So there needs to be a demonstrable benefit.
So it's about bringing in expertise that adds value. Is that it?
Not quite. There's another crucial requirement. The foreign ID shall be required to work in every case with a duly licensed Filipino counterpart. And that Filipino counterpart must have been in continuous practice of interior design for at least 10 years, and whose competence and integrity have been established by the board. This ensures knowledge transfer and protects local professional standards.
A mandatory local partner with significant experience. How does that work financially and in terms of credit?
The Act is quite specific. Professional fees and other charges must be equitably divided based on participation. Documentation, taxes, and liabilities are also to be equitably borne. And for credit, both the foreign and Filipino IDs shall sign contracts, designs, and other credits together, and at all times be acknowledged in all marketing and promotional materials. Even residual earnings, if any, are to be equitably shared. It aims for a true partnership.
That's a really thoughtful way to encourage international collaboration while still developing and protecting local talent. Very balanced. So what does all this mean for you, the client, or even just someone looking at a design document from the Philippines? How can you verify things?
It means transparency and accountability are built in. Section 31, indication of numbers, is key here. The adductor must indicate their certificate of registration number, the expiry date of their ID card, their professional tax receipt number, and their AIPO membership details on all the documents he assigns, uses, or issues. This provides clear traceability. You can easily check their credentials.
And how accessible is information about who is actually registered? Is there, like, a public list?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Section 32 mandates a roster of interior designers. The board maintains this public roster of all registered IDs. It's updated annually and indicates the status of their credentials, whether they're valid, delinquent, suspended, or terminated. This is a fantastic tool for transparency and consumer protection. Anyone can check if a designer is legitimate and in good standing.
That's great for public trust. And finally, in this section, what about the professional community itself? How does the law foster a unified voice for interior designers?
That's where the Accredited and Integrated Professional Organization AIPO comes in, described in Section 33. The board accredits one and only AIPO, which must be registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. And here's the integration part. All interior designers whose names appear in the registry book shall ipso facto or automatically become members thereof upon payment of the required fees. This ensures a strong, unified professional body representing the majority of practitioners.
Automatic membership, so it's compulsory.
Membership in the AIPO is compulsory for practice, yes. It fosters that integration. However, the Act also clearly states membership in other organizations of interior designers shall not be barred, end quote. So designers can still join other specialized or interest-based groups, allowing for diversity within the profession while maintaining a single integrated body for regulatory purposes.
Okay, that covers the practice itself. But what happens if someone doesn't follow these rules? If they practice illegally, without the proper credentials, or violate the standards, what are the actual consequences? That takes us to Article V final provisions, focusing on enforcement and accountability.
Right, this is where the teeth of the law are. Section 34 is the penal clause, and it outlines serious consequences for violations. For general penalties, individuals found guilty face a hefty fine, not less 300,000 pesos, PHP 300,000.0000, but not more than 1 million pesos, PHP 1 million.000. That's quite substantial. Or they could face imprisonment of not less than six months, but not more than 3 years, or both fine and imprisonment at the discretion of the court.
Wow, prison time is possible. What specific violations trigger these penalties for local practitioners?
Key violations include practicing without a valid certificate, registration, ID card, or permit, using someone else's seal or credentials, abetting the illegal practice, basically, helping someone else practice unlawfully, or impersonating a registered interior designer. These are all taken very seriously.
And what about foreign practitioners or firms who break the rules?
The penalties are even steeper for them. Responsible officers found guilty face a fine equivalent to 30% or 30% of their gross fees, in addition to payment of back taxes.
Plus the imprisonment penalties we just mentioned, and significantly a permanent ban from practice in the Philippines.
Mm.
And generally, just violating any provision of the Act or its IRR can lead to these penalties.
So criminal penalties are significant, but beyond that, there's also civil responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So if a designer messes up or something goes wrong with the project itself, what's their actual liability to the client? Absolutely. Section 35 covers civil liability, and this is incredibly important for consumer protection. It states that the interior designer shall assume full responsibility for the contract work within one year from the final acceptance by the client. The only exception is for force majeure, basically, unforeseen circumstances beyond their control, like major natural disasters. They're also explicitly fully responsible for the safety, protection, security, and convenience of his client's user, personnel, third parties, and the public at large related to their work.
Safety and convenience, so it goes beyond just the structure. What about defects?
For defects in the project, the liability period is clearly defined. One year from final acceptance by the client. During this year, if the client notifies them of a defect, the eye doctor should undertake repairs at their own expense within 45 days. If they fail to do so, the client can arrange the repairs themselves and get full reimbursement from the designer. This really underscores that interior design isn't just a creative pursuit. It carries significant professional and public safety responsibilities. Failure to comply with this civil liability is also grounds for administrative disciplinary action by the board, so it connects back to their license.
That's a strong guarantee for the client. So who actually makes sure all these rules, criminal and civil, are enforced? Who does the policing?
Section 36, enforcement, lays this out. It's primarily the responsibility of the Professional Regulation Commission, PRC. The PRC is tasked to implement the provisions of the Act, enforce its IRR, conduct investigations on complaints, and prosecute violations when necessary, usually with the help of the Department of Justice.
So the PRC is the key enforcer, working with the board and legal system.
Exactly. They provide the overarching regulatory muscle.
Okay, so what does this all mean? We've taken a really deep dive into the Philippine Interior Design Act of 2012, and it's crystal clear this isn't just some dry legal document gathering dust. It's a living, breathing framework that genuinely aims to elevate an entire profession, ensuring its integrity, fostering its growth, and making it truly competitive, even on a global stage.
Absolutely. To summarize the core takeaways, I'd say the Act meticulously defines, regulates, and promotes the interior design profession. It does this through that structured professional regulatory board we talked about, through rigorous examinations and qualifications, very clear ethical standards, and robust enforcement mechanisms, both penal and civil. It ensures competence, it protects the public by holding professionals accountable for safety and quality, and it even thoughtfully manages the involvement of foreign talent, making sure there's benefit and knowledge transfer while prioritizing local expertise.
Right, it's quite holistic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights a nation's commitment to quality and professionalism in really every aspect of its development. Right down to the very spaces we live and work in and the people who shape them.
Absolutely. And for you, the listener, the value is clear. Whether you're an aspiring interior designer now understanding your detailed career path and responsibilities, or maybe you're a client seeking a reliable, accountable professional backed by a comprehensive legal framework. Or perhaps you're just someone curious about how professions are governed in such a thorough way. This act provides an incredibly detailed blueprint. It demonstrates a profound commitment to establishing, maintaining, and continually improving the standards of interior design practice, ensuring that every design space meets high benchmarks for both aesthetics and public welfare. So here's a final thought to leave you with. As you look around at the spaces you occupy today, maybe your home, your office, that cafe, what hidden layers of professional responsibility, ethical codes, and legal frameworks might be shaping them in ways you never even considered before?